Janaraha Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yashodanandana Bhajajanaraha Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitagara Hani Bol, Nitagara Hani Bol. Nitagara Pramanande. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to try to speak some words of knowledge from the Shastra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today's verses are text 23, text 23 and text 24 from the 4th canto, chapter 2, chapter entitled Daksha Curses Lord Shiva. So we'll just wait a few moments whilst we look in our book and find the verse so that we can recite it together. I'll recite the first verse without you repeating it because the first verse doesn't have a purport. So the first verse, text 23. Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna. So the first verse, text 23, is Buddhya para vidya yinya vishmamatya gati pashuhu Trikama sosva atitaram dakshobasta muko Chirat. The translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, is Daksha has accepted the body as all in all. Therefore, since he has forgotten the Vishnu Pada or Vishnu Gati and is attached to sex life only, within a short time, he will have the face of a goat. Okay, text 24, which we will recite together. Vidya buddhi avidyayam karma mayam aso jadaha samsarantva ihaye chamum anusarva mananinam vidya buddhi avidyayam karma mayam aso jadaha samsartva iha cha ye chamum anusarva mananinam vidya buddhi avidyayam karma mayam aso jadaha samsarantvav iha cha samsarav iha ye chamam anusarva vamaninam. Follow, please repeat. Anusarva vamaninam vidya buddhi avidyayam karma mayam asodadaha samsatva iha ye chamam anusarva vamaninam vidya buddhi avidyayam karma mayam asodadaha samsaratva iha chamam anusarva vamaninam. Vaishnavis? Vidya buddhi avidyayam karmamayam asodadaha samsaratva ihate kamam anusarva vamaninam vidya buddhi avidyayam karmamayam asodadaha samsaratva ihate kamam anusarva vamaninam. Anyone else? Okay. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Those who have become as dull as matter by cultivating materialistic education and intelligence are nesciently involved in fruitive activities. Such men have purposely insulted Lord Shiva. May they continue in the cycle of repeated birth and death. Purport. The 3 curses mentioned above are sufficient to make one as dull as stone, void of spiritual knowledge and preoccupied with materialistic education, which is nescience. After uttering these curses, Nandisvara then cursed the Brahmanas to continue in the cycle of birth and death because of their supporting Daksha in blaspheming Lord Shiva. Okay. So the entire Śrimad Bhāgavatam was compiled and created by Vedavyas specifically to guide and instruct all beings in the path of Bhakti Yoga. So in this section of the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, we are introduced to the rage of Daksha, which is influenced by the mode of passion, Rajagun. In the first verse, verse 23, is the word Vishmrita, forgotten. And forgetfulness of our spiritual purpose is brought about by Rajas. The very first word of today's verse 23 is buddhya, by intelligence. Bud is a noun defined as intuitive discernment or direct awareness. The root of bud means to observe or to heed. In other words, to learn and be conscious again. So, in the purport of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 39, Srila Prabhupada says that one should understand that Buddha Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works only for the satisfaction of the Lord is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga is simply Bhakti Yoga, the engagement of full spiritual consciousness in the loving service of Krishna. In fact, the entire library of the Vedic literature presents the conditioned jiva with an opportunity to apply themselves to Bhakti Yoga. Not to avail oneself to this opportunity would definitely be one of a lost opportunity. Furthermore, in Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, the chapter entitled Opulence of the Absolute, Krishna encourages full surrender to Bhakti Yoga by describing his infinite attributes and opulence. In the verse 10 of that chapter 10, Krishna describes, for those who are devoted to me. For those who are devoted to me, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The word understanding is written in the original Sanskrit as Buddha Yoga. And in the word-for-word translation, Srila Prabhupada describes Buddha Yoga as real intelligence. Of course, Buddhi or intelligence can be influenced by Sattva, Raja, and Tamas. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita, this time the 14th chapter and the 5th verse, when a jiva comes into touch with the material nature, they do, of course, become contaminated by the modes of material nature. So in this 10th chapter, again, the 10th verse, Srila Prabhupada explains furthermore in the purport about Buddha Yoga. Buddha Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness, and that is the highest intelligence. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddha Yoga. Buddha Yoga is the process by which one gets out of entanglement of this material world. However, when a person knows the goal of life, as we've just discussed above, but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is when a person knows the goal and knows that goal is Krishna, but he or she is addicted to the fruits of activity. But those who know the goal and seek Krishna completely in unmotivated devotional service are acting in buddhi, yoga, or bhakti yoga. Those who act in buddhi or bhakti yoga are motivated only by pure love. In the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, verse 41, it is described that buddhi intelligence is the mode of passion, which is bahu shaka hayantascha, that those who are not in pure spiritual consciousness have unlimited multi-branched intelligence, which at first when I read it in my lower modes of consciousness, I was like, wow, multi-branched intelligence, that sounds wonderful. But what it means is we don't actually have a fixed idea of what the real goal is. So our intelligence becomes driven by our senses, so it goes in different branches. Buddhi yoga, also known as bhakti yoga, is to do activities in Krishna consciousness for Krishna, purely only to please Krishna. Karma yoga is actively centered on furthering one's own material ambitions. So I'll just repeat that again. When we are doing karma yoga, it's when we are doing activities which are not specifically centered on pleasing Krishna, but they are to please our own selves, in other words, to further our own materialistic ambitions. And furthermore, this will tie us into the material world, the material existence. Rajasic buddhi extrapolates on alternate understanding more suited for sensual pleasure for the mind and senses. Such individuals are unsure about their life's purpose and goals. They have difficulty understanding new things or developments, and are unwilling to advance spiritually by releasing their grip on the old. Someone who is operating in Rajasic buddhi will have a tendency to fault find and make excuses and justifications for their behavior. And they are often confused and argumentative. So someone whose buddhi is inflicted by this rajas cannot distinguish between dharma and adharma, but they always try to gain power. This is basically an explanation of the many branches of intelligence that happen when we are influenced, when our buddhi is influenced by rajas. And this means we are not in spiritual consciousness. Prabhupada says in the purport that when one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life, having no obligation to temporary family members, traditions, or even humanity itself. In today's verse, the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, 4th canto, the 2nd chapter and verse 23, Daksha is clearly affected by the mode of passion, and his intelligence is not focused. He thinks bodily considerations are important and topmost. So, Nandishwar, Nandi, Lord Shiva's carrier, retaliates against Daksha's attitude. So who is Nandi, for anyone who doesn't know? Some of you have seen the images of Lord Shiva depicted upon a big white bull. That is Nandi. Nandi is the chief of the Bhutaganas, the attendants of Lord Shiva. Anyone who has seen a Shiva temple or a Shiva shrine, as there are so many all around India, will see that there's actually a small carving, a stone Nandi, which faces west to the east-facing shrine of every one of these temples in India. Nandi is Shiva's carrier, and the guardian deity of Mount Kailash, which is presently now in Tibet. And Nandi was the son of sage Shiloda. So Nandi grew up as a serious devotee of Lord Shiva, and he underwent many great penances to become his doorkeeper as well as his mount. It was Nandi who, in a conflict with Ravana, told him that a monkey would burn his city of Lanka to the ground. So, a little bit about Daksha, even though we've been speaking about him quite a bit over the past week or so. In the Mahabharata, Shanti Parva, verse 384, the 23 Prajapatis are listed, and Daksha is, of course, one of those 23. So it is of no surprise that Nandi accuses Daksha that he is only attached to sex life, because he was actually created by Lord Brahma for this very purpose, as a progenitor to populate the universe. Another interesting thing is that Nandi also calls Daksha Pashu. Pashu means that which is bound or tethered. It commonly refers to an animal, like domesticated animal. You see cows, sheep, goats, they're all tethered animals. Maybe you don't see it so much here, but when you go to India, they still tether the cows to a pin in the ground, and the cow just kind of walks around that pin all day. The same with other things, goats and all. So Pashu can also refer to those bound by the three modes of material nature. So it means somebody, something that is tethered, somebody who is bound. So common ordinary people are also referred to as Pashu. There is even one famous Shiva temple in Nepal called Pashupati, the Lord of the Bound. In the Vayu Purana 69-240, it is stated that Daksha created animals such as birds and quadrupeds. So we can expand upon that a little bit more just for our general knowledge. The categories of the entities are described as the Andaja, those born from an egg, the Udbija, the plants, the Svedaja, from seeds, and the Jaruyuja, those born in a womb. In verse 24, Nandi says that dullness comes from materialist education that leads to karma maya, in other words, fruitive activities. So dullness comes from materialistic education that leads to fruitive activities. So Nandi curses Daksha to continue on his chosen path. And what are those three curses? 1, Daksha will lose all knowledge. 2, Daksha will have the face of a goat. And 3, those who support Daksha will undergo repeated birth and death. So what can we conclude from all of this? The antics and attitudes of various characters are described by Vyasadeva, the author of Śrimad Bhāgavatam and other Vedic literatures, to describe to us the benefits of applying ourselves effectively to Bhakti Yoga, selfless service to Sri Krishna. It is only the foolish who will try to pursue material goals, neglecting the valuable opportunities that are presented to us on a daily basis. So every day we'll be presented, especially here, those who are living inside a temple, and also those householders who are living outside, although maybe it can become more challenging to see because you're presented with so much more of the material energy. But for many of us, we are presented every moment of the day with an opportunity to engage in Krishna's divine service. The opportunity could come from a special day, just like today, Ekadasi. We have the opportunity to grab, and we should grab it eagerly, especially in this Kartik Mass, with both hands and full enthusiasm, because we're being given an opportunity to serve Krishna, to get closer to Krishna, and to realize more of what is our real nature and our relationship with Krishna. If we choose to not take opportunities, for example, it could be an opportunity somebody is offering that we can do service on in Kartik or on any day, or even on Kartik on a festival day. Wow, this is a wonderful opportunity to serve Krishna, to serve Guru, to serve the devotees. Or we can see it from a different way, and we can actually lose that opportunity. And then, of course, we will remain static and we will not grow. And the choice is always ours. The choice is always there to have the opportunity to open ourselves up to the process of devotional service and to the mercy that's flowing down from the Guru Parampara, or we can choose to stay static in our position. So I'm just going to talk briefly about Ekadasi. Ekadasi is definitely one of those days where we're presented with a divine opportunity. In places, specifically in Vrindavan Dham. In Vrindavan Dham, on Ekadasis, all the people that live there, Rajvasis, and the people, well, even just all the people, the Rajvasis themselves will always go, man, woman, child, they will all go independently in their own groups or by themselves. They will at least do the Vrindavan Parakram. And that takes at least, I think, 4 hours minimum to walk around Vrindavan. Some people can do it very fast. Some people power walk. But it depends in what mood and in what way you want to do it. It's all ways are good. Some people choose to do it by doing full Dandavat Parakram, and it will take them. They will not complete that in one day. They will have to leave a marker in the spot where they decide to stop, and then again they will start the next time from that spot, and they will go. And some people, they do different numbers of full Dandavat Parakram. Like some people will just do one Dandavat Parakram and again up. And then others who are really wanting to fulfill a big vrat, a big vow, and in one sense austerity, they will carry with them a number of stones, and they will make a picture of their Ishtadev, and they will put, each time they do a Dandavat Parakram, they will put each stone towards it. And they could be doing 4, 16, 108, who knows. Many times they may be doing in one spot before they move to the next spot. Another thing that many Rajvasis or other residents of Vrindavan choose to do on Ekadasi is to chant as many rounds as possible. And of course, many decide to do a full fasting on Ekadasis because they see it as a wonderful opportunity to get closer to Krishna and to really imbibe the mood and to grab the opportunity when the opportunity is at its most ripe, which is Ekadasi itself. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written that Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani Jatani Palana Koli. That Ekadasi is a Madhavatiti, Krishna himself, and that holy days like Ekadasi are Bhakti Jani, the mother of Prem Bhakti. So Janani means the mother of tenderness. It can literally mean, Mother, your name is devotion. So now we can more, with the wonderful explanation by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we can now begin to feel more in our heart, what are we trying to understand here? Like, what is this opportunity that Ekadasi presents to us? You'll find that many different teachers will actually be practicing doing a full fast or some kind of fast on Ekadasi, and they will tell you that it is something that you should definitely do at least once, and I think we all have the opportunity to do that on the Pandava Ekadasi. But remember that that is actually one of the toughest ones to do because it falls at the hottest time of the year. So it's challenging for everybody to do it on that day. I would dare to advise that if one ever wanted to try different levels of fasting on Ekadasi, maybe to try doing one in Kartik Mas, because it's a cooler month and it makes it a little easier. And it is said in Kartik Mas that one will get so much more times of the benefit. So there's a wonderful opportunity there to try to do something on this wonderful day, to do some kind of a vrat. It could be to increase one's chanting. It could be to increase one's reading in some way, or to try to read in a more focused way. You will actually find that when you do not take in, when you try to limit the intake of foodstuffs, obviously particularly the grains, that your mind will become sharper, and you will actually, when you read, it will have a little more potency to go in and stay in. So a little bit about this Ekadasi itself. This Ekadasi is called Rama Ekadasi, and I can recite a little bit about what I remember of the pastime of this Ekadasi. All of the Ekadasis have pastimes because King Yudhisthira was asking Lord Krishna himself about every single Ekadasi. So this one is, I think it's one of the Ekadasis that occurs in the dark night of the moon, the dark fortnight rather. Yes, a Krishna Paksha. Of course, we shouldn't differentiate between the two. Both Ekadasis are equally as potent. So this pastime begins where there was once a great kingdom, as many pastimes begin. There was once a very great kingdom, and in that kingdom there was a king. I think his name is King Muchuchumba, and he had a daughter called Chatrabanga. And in that kingdom, this king was very, very pious and very dedicated to Lord Hari. And he declared every night before, or every day or evening before the day of Ekadasi. Ekadasi means the 11th day of the moon. And it's when the moon is, you look up at the sky and you see there's half of a moon only. Okay, so he would declare the whole kingdom that no one shall eat or drink anything on this sacred day of Lord Hari, which is Ekadasi. That included not just all the people, not just all the women and children, but all of the plants and all of the animals. So you can understand that in these great, wonderful kingdoms, they had wonderful gardens, they had peacocks and elephants and horses and cows, so many animals and plants also under their care. So no one was going to get any food or water on the day of Hari. So the daughter, Chandrabanga, she knew this, but her wonderful husband, her prince, was coming to visit, and it happened to fall upon that day. So she knew that her husband was a little bit of weak constitution. So she warned him. She said, if you come on this day, you will have to follow the Ekadasi. My father is very strict. There is no way that you will be able to not follow this. It's not possible because every living being is going to be following this in this kingdom. So she was concerned about her husband because of his weak constitution. However, the husband said, I will follow the Ekadasi, even though he knew it would be tough. He followed it, and whilst all the other beings in the kingdom were up through the night chanting the glories of Lord Hari, this prince, Shobhana, was finding it very, very difficult. In fact, he was finding it so difficult that he did in fact perish, and he left his body that very night. And the next day, when it was discovered that the prince had passed away and had left his body, the king told his daughter to prepare, for her husband's funeral and all these different things. However, not to enter into the funeral pyre herself. So there is a tradition, for anyone who doesn't know, that in India, that the most righteous thing, the most wonderful thing that a wife can do if her husband dies before her is to herself throw herself willingly onto the burning the burning body of the husband, and this is very honorable. However, her father and the king of the kingdom told her not to do this thing. So dutifully, she prepared everything, and she didn't do this. And everything went on, and the funeral took place. However, because this prince fully fasted and even then passed away, caused by this Ekadasi, he gained piety, and he actually took birth again in a wonderful kingdom, not so far from that kingdom. And then one day, a brahmana, as brahmanas do, they pass from place to place, suddenly saw in the distance, as he was walking along outside of this other kingdom, he saw a wonderful kingdom that he'd never seen before, so he went to visit. And there he saw a prince who he thought, I recognize this prince. He looks like he's from the kingdom that I am from, the kingdom of the king with the daughter Chandrabanga. He looks very similar to him. I will ask him about that, if he indeed is this person. And then it was revealed to him that indeed this is the prince. But the prince said to him, I'm very concerned, even though I have this glorious kingdom, because the brahmana was asking, how did you get this wonderful kingdom? It's so beautiful, everything is so opulent. How did you gain this place? Because he recognized him from before. And he said, although I have this wonderful kingdom, it is only temporary. It is not fixed, and at any moment it could disappear from me. So I'm concerned about this. And why is that? Why is it only temporary? The reason it was only temporary is because the prince, even though he followed the Ekadasi fully, he did it in the consciousness not of trying to please Krishna, but of out of duty, as not to let down his wonderful wife and not to disobey the king in his kingdom, his father-in-law. So because of that, he gained some piety from following the Ekadasi, but he didn't get the full result. So the brahmana asked this prince, who was now a king of the kingdom, can I go back and tell them that back in our kingdom, what has become of you, and what has been the result of this, and what happened to you, and that you are actually still around, just in another kingdom, in a different situation. So then, of course, the brahmana went back and excitedly told the king and told the daughter Chandrabanga. Of course, then the daughter was so excited, and she rushed, and she was like, I must go and see my husband, the prince who is now a king. So she rushed there, and so surely, she said when she got there, by her piety, because she had been practicing She had been following the Ekadasis since she was since she had been a very small girl. She had been fully following every single Ekadasi, and she had been doing it in devotion to Lord Krishna. So she prayed to Lord Krishna and said, please, by the piety of all of my accrued Ekadasis in devotion to you, let me be with my husband. And then surely they lived happily ever after in a wonderful, opulent kingdom. So the husband, in fact, was there. He actually became saved by the piety of his wife, his good wife, the Princess Chandrabanga. So there we can see that there's different, depending on the consciousness in which we take something. In other words, like, what is our intention? Depending on that, in which way we view it when the opportunity comes, whether we decide to do it, we do the opportunity out of duty, we will gain wonderful things. However, if we try to wire our brain and try to channel ourselves, which is our aim here, which is why we're here, why we're having this temple. We're having this temple here to create a platform for those persons, those rare souls, or rare opportunities for all souls to partake in Bhakti Yoga and try to do some pure devotional service within our lifetime. So in other words, we're trying to create an environment where people feel inspired and enthused to not only do some selfless, rather to do some voluntary service, but to do some selfless service, not only selfless, but in the mood of love, of only pleasing Krishna, and to put our own senses, our own needs, our own desires, to put those, we can't put them, the aim isn't to completely take them away, but it is to dovetail them, or to understand that our true, real desire is to rekindle our lost relationship with Lord Sri Krishna. And really the opportunity is there in Kartik Mass. I see Kartik Mass as a wonderful time for introspection. Throughout the whole of the summer months, we are busy doing festivals which involve like a lot of energy, a lot of color, a lot of noise, a lot of so much kind of like, when you think back to the summer, often we think back, for example, to like the big festival of Ratha Yatra. If you just close your eyes and you think back, you'll probably see lots of colors, lots of things happening, lots of sound, many things rushing, high energy. So many people, so much happening, so much joy, so much ecstasy. And this is the summer festivals. And then as we go back, or rather as we come now more into the present, into this Kartik Mass, this is an opportunity to go a little more, it's more of an inward, introspective time, which is timed by the seasons, as you see in the light of the Bhāgavata, which gives us a wonderful explanation of the different seasons that happen, specifically in Vrindavan, but also in other parts of the world. We have different seasons. And this season which comes now is a time more for introspection, for slowing down a little. And even the act, when we offer that lamp of devotion to Lord Damodar, when we're doing that, we get that opportunity to, what we're doing is we're trying to offer just a little piece of our heart. We're trying to offer something from our heart. And so we get that opportunity to think, okay, now I'm really, I'm sending a prayer, I'm meditating, I'm thinking of the glories. In fact, I'm looking at Lord Damodar and I'm asking, please just give me that opportunity to bind you. Like, how can I make you like bound. We talked about things that are bound, like ordinarily, like we are the ones who are bound, but we are bound by the material energy. So how can we get to a platform where we rise and rise and rise, where we become the ones who is binding he who is the most supreme personality of Godhead? So in one sense, we can see now, wow, this is a really very high platform. But at the same time, we can think, okay, in order to get to that high platform, I must embrace every opportunity that I have to serve him so that I can learn how to love him and open up my heart to the process of Bhakti Yoga. So there's 10 minutes left. I turn on this other microphone. Yes. Does anyone have any questions, comments, corrections? Yes, in the back there. I think the tongue is going to help.
I have a question.
Wait. So that the viewers at home can hear. Thank you.
I have a question. Since you say that the goal is to advance to the point where on the platform of Prem Bhakti, pure, unalloyed, divine love for God, we are in a position where even we can bind the Lord because of his gratitude for our loving attitude. What is the relationship between this and performing austerities? So you describe performing the austerity of Ekadasi. What is the relationship between austerities such as Ekadasi, and there's so many others, and divine love? How does one relate to the other?
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful question. I will try to speak from my small realization on this. And that is that when we, as I've mentioned in previous classes, when we look through the Shastra, we will see that when the devotees of Krishna or of Vishnu, of the Lord, are given some instruction, it could be through Krishna himself, or it could be through his servants, such as Lord Brahma. When they're given an instruction, normally the first thing that they do is they start to perform severe penances or austerities. And as well here, it is mentioned that Nandi himself performs such severe penances and austerities in order to become, he desired to become the carrier and the main servant of Lord Shiva. So when we, why do we do this? Like almost seems, to some it may seem contrary, like, oh, where is the love in austerity? So essentially, one does austerity in order to try to get onto that process of surrendering to the will of something that is above and beyond what is our mind and our senses, and it actually purifies our mind and our senses in this way. It is a process which does that. So by committing to do different austerities, for example, in our present age, it's understood to be on austerity simply to be in ordinary consciousness, as in to not take any kind of intoxication. And another thing is austerity is also is said to be the wealth of the Brahmanas. So what does that mean? It means that by doing these acts of, by surrendering and doing these different acts of austerity, we're doing something which is not for our own, we're trying to do something which is not for our own benefit by sacrificing one or more of our senses and trying to, and in doing that process, we have an understanding more so of how we are not actually the body. It becomes quite real, actually, that we're not the body, and that we are actually something higher, because we can become amazed that when we try to do an austerity, like you see that, for example, yogis, they do austerities. However, typically, when a typical yogi who is doing an austerity, typically yogis, their aim is not to fully realize Satchidananda Vigraha. They don't have the activity part. They don't have that full understanding of the Supreme. They only have a partial understanding. So when they are doing austerities, their focus is a little different from ours. So they, I lost my train of thought when the train went past. What did you want to add?
Synth, you mentioned that those whose intelligence is in the mode of passion, then it's many-branched, and they have difficulty with an ultimate focus.
Yeah.
Is it that performing austerities and withholding the objects of the senses from the senses, does this aid us in having that one-pointed focus? And to what degree is Harinam Kirtan the greatest austerity and the greatest boon for Kali Yuga?
Wow, thank you for helping me and adding that wonderful point. Yeah, when I had mentioned there that when we practice austerities, our mind does become sharper. On a totally, like, you could say, like, technique point of view, it means that because the body isn't being like used for whatever else it's being used for, it's just focusing on one thing. For a yogi, it could be standing on one leg, or like something like that. For the bhakta, it could be like when we're chanting the holy name. When we're focused on one thing only, we can really kind of get so much more from that activity, and we can really approach the higher platforms of devotion. What was the other part that you were saying?
And
To what degree is Harinam Sankirtan? Yes. Well, as we all know, especially here in this New York Yatra, we have our New York Harinam, which goes out every day and practices this wonderful Yuga Dharma of Harinam Sankirtan, which Lord Chaitanya says is the only way for all the living entities to become, to gain some kind of liberation and to actually get somewhere in this Kali Yuga. So we're very blessed at this time, especially now in Kartik, to be able to avail this another wonderful opportunity to go out and to practice this Harinam Sankirtan, the singing and the chanting and the glorifying of the Lord's holy names out in New York City. Especially as it's going to be approaching this time, it's going to be, we have a wonderful opportunity arising, because this Thursday it's going to be Diwali and it's going to be Halloween. So this is so interesting, because we have the divine festival of light and the ghoulish festival of darkness together in one day. And I believe there will be a wonderful Harinam, to bring in some lightness into the parade of darkness that will be Halloween. But many people, I see, and I also too, you know, it's fun to dress up as a character and so on. But we, every day, we are not trying to you know, dress as characters. We're trying to realize our true character, our true self. And, you know, this is why we dress in our devotional clothes, to try to be that beacon of light in the darkness of Kali Yuga, so that people can see us and say, oh, and recognize us, and recognize something deep within themselves, and give that person the opportunity to take part in Bhakti Yoga. There was another question. Which thing?
Said also in the last part, unless you maybe answered it and I was just like, yeah, I was just bad. like how is it like could be the greatest austerity to go out and
Well, because it's one of it's basically when we even just chant one name of Lord Hari, and obviously the most potent names are in the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna and Hare Rama. When we chant these names, we immediately declare a war on Maya Devī. The thing is Maya Devī is none other than one of the wonderful servants of Lord Krishna. But her job, she's like the toughest headmistress you've ever met. Her job is to make sure that you will learn your lessons here in the material world, so that eventually you will come to the path of meeting devotees and ultimately surrendering unto the process of devotional service. So the reason, it's austere because it's not so, Maya doesn't always make it so easy, but Krishna is more powerful than Maya, of course. And so he always opens up many doors for us so that we can chant the Maha Mantra. But it's something which is best advised to do as a team. It's very hard to do on one's own self. It's very difficult. Like there's an analogy of the twigs and the branches. But when you have just one twig, you can easily snap it. But when you bind it together with many, it becomes unbreakable. So when we chant in a group, this is the most advised thing by Lord Chaitanya, because it's good for us and it's good for everybody. There was one more question by Natabara, and then we'll end because we're at 9.
Well, I'll just add on to a comment on that about Sankirtan, is that like you're talking about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he famously says Jiva Doya Krishna Nam Sara Dharma Sar. So that basically doing, like, if you were just chanting the holy name, the reason why Sankirtan rather than just chanting is the best is because when you do something for others, like you get way more of the actual benefit. There's some different statements, like if you offer your austerities for the benefit of others, then you actually get 10 times that austerity. If you offer that to your guru, you get 100 times austerity. If you offer that to Krishna, you get 1,000 times your austerity, something like that. And so when we're in the mood of actually helping others do it, then it's the best way to actually clean our heart. And then Maya Devi can see, oh, he's actually learning his lesson. Then he can actually get out of here. Because that's the whole point of doing austerities and doing everything, is that we can learn our lesson and get out of here.
Yes, thank you so much, Natabara. Those are wonderful comments and end conclusion to our class today. So, Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki.